Drew Dinkmeyer, aka
We
Nope.
definitely won't.
Davis Maddock, and Dave Lochran. But guys, we're just discussing like it's so much easier to make lineups on other sites other than DraftKings today.
Oh my god! I even made one over on Fantasy Aces. They have the qualifier going on. Love that lineup. Make my way on over to DraftKings, and I'm trying to load up on entries for some of these GPPs, which it's doable in GPPs. But then when you start talking cash games, like Davis and I were just discussing, it doesn't make things easy on you because there's so many high end guys, but then there's also so many low end gambles that you almost have to risk one with the other.
Yep. Yeah, like it's just you're having to make a lot of impossible decisions on DraftKings right now. Like a lot of decisions that just any way you slice it just doesn't have very much data behind it at all. Like we're trying to run Alfred Blue out, and we have no idea how they're going to split those carries at all.
None at all. And even Kyrie Robinson, I like him a lot. But anytime you have a running back in New Orleans, when you have someone like Drew Brees that can just, connect on every pass, especially at home, it's difficult. You're with Kyrie Robinson. I don't know about you, Davis, but the reason I like him is because I do think he'll find his way into the end zone. I think they'll have enough possessions inside the 10 that he'll at least have an opportunity or two to punch it in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like just like straight up, I think that is sort of the right way to
At
approach it.
3,900,
It just doesn't get better than that.
right. Now, I
Yeah.
think also we're talking about the tight end position that you typically want to save money at. I know there's Travis Kelce that you're a big fan of, and I think he could have a great game. But there are also a lot of options at tight end that I like that aren't necessarily that cheap. Niles Paul with Michael Kendricks out, I feel like he could have a monster game.
But
Gronkowski,
you can't pay for him as the fifth most expensive tight end on draft.
but that's the problem, and that's what I'm referring to.
But
Is that
I
you
think,
almost have to go with these cheaper guys, even though I don't want to.
I think you can pay up for him
I am on certain lineups
because
but with cash
on-
game it's tough.
on DK, it's like he's not as the fifth most like expensive or tight end. Like the tight end options are like Jimmy Graham's like in a whole nother. You can't pay
yeah.
up for Jimmy Graham. So then it's like, who can you pay up? You're not paying up for Julius Thomas.
Well, here's what makes it difficult, Dave. Gronkowski's $100 more, and I know he's on the snap count. I know he's limited, but when he's out there, he's going to see the targets, and it's tough to justify going Paul over Gronkowski for $100 less,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
just because we know what Gronkowski's capable of doing. Casey Matthews is horrible. He's horrendous. He is that bad.
Yeah, I think that Niles Paul is like a straight up stone cold sort of lock
Right.
on FanDuel.
What is he on FanDuel?
5,000, so he's 500 away from the
Okay.
minimum.
Yeah.
On DraftKings, I think I would rather go with Travis Kelce, Larry Donnell, or one of Rudolph or Jordan Cameron.
Kyle Rudolph.
There's such a huge price disparity there, and it makes it really difficult. But I'm with you.
The thing
And
is,
Cameron's probable now.
if you
So-
if you go with one of these high priced quarterbacks, you just you can't
Yeah.
have your cake and eat it too. Like
No.
you've got to sacrifice somewhere.
Yeah, I think that someone who makes lineups a lot easier though is Brandon Cooks and his 5,100 price tag on DraftKings. He's one of the only mid-price wide receivers that I feel really good about. He's ran the most pass routes for the Saints this year, and leads them in offensive looks like touches and targets combined. So I think for 5,100 at home against the Vikings, I think he's sort of like my lock of the day on DraftKings for 5,100.
Okay. And I know everybody is off of Colston, especially after last week. I know you are too, Davis. But in tournament formats, I absolutely love him. I just think that nobody's going to be on him at all after last week. He still has a good rapport with Breeze. Tell me why you wouldn't play him today, David.
I think that his role in the offense is no longer as defined as it used to be. I think that Cooks has sort of taken over his role as the second most important player for them. And I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to bet on a guy who shows so much volatility week to week.
Yeah, there's no denying that.
Yeah.
He's 300 more than Cooks, and Cooks, like you said, has been seeing more action in that offense. But I do. Here's one. There is going to be one New Orleans receiver that's going to go off today. I do believe that. I don't know which one it's going to be yet. Like you said, it's probably going to be Cooks, but one of them is going to have a big game.
Correct. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Seldom do you see Breeze throw under 300 yards at home. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I know they'll get up early, but I still think they're going to throw the ball, especially after going 0-2, almost like a statement game. I could see the same thing happening with Indianapolis. New England always runs the score, so that doesn't really matter. Brady's hard to trust, though. But with Edelman and Gronk, I still think Edelman and Gronk are great plays today.
Yeah, I actually think, and I'm normally not an Edelman guy, but I think for 6,000 on DraftKings, I think he's like a really excellent play. I think he's in a hashtag pretty good spot today, especially with Aaron Dobson inactive. That was sort of the question, is if Dobson would get some run today, sort of as like a practice, because it is against the Raiders. But with him inactive, Edelman is clearly the 1A in their passing game.
Right, and who do they have outside of Edelman and Gronkowski that Brady trusts?
I mean, they have Ken Burrell, but like he's nothing.
He doesn't trust him. That's what I'm saying. Like last season, we saw how many times he went to him and they just couldn't connect, no matter where he threw it or when he threw it. There isn't much else outside of those two guys, which is why I like them. Even if now, have you heard anything on Gronk's snap count being increased?
No, I haven't heard a peep about Gronk's snap count. So yeah, I think that it's just sort of hard to play Gronkowski right now, and it's hard to expect him to take any significant portion of the passing game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
let's talk about some of the news today. You've got people thought that Jamal Charles might play. He in fact is not going to play.
That is not confirmed.
It's not.
No, Arian Foster's been ruled out. He's the one that's
Foster has been because they had to turn in the inactives, but we're not going to know about Charles until the inactives list for that game is turned in at 2:00.
But beat writers are saying he's out, right?
That does not mean anything.
Okay.
Like
I think it means something.
Really hard. Yeah, I think it means that if you have a late swap that you like, you can put a slot in there for Niall Davis on DraftKings, or another late swap site. But like I wouldn't use him on FanDuel right now at all.
On the late swap sites too, always put him in at your flex position. Just in case you need to make another move. It always helps to have that flex availability in the event that you want to go with someone else other than Niall Davis.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
If you want to go with that high price guy. Charles is still 7,100 on DraftKings, so there's other options out there that would certainly suffice if he is out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The problem right now, like this is the swap that I could see myself making. Is Niall Davis to swap down for Michael Crabtree in a lineup. That's really the only late swap that I can see that I think is like super optimal, because a lot of the guys I like are in the early games. I mean, just going through it, our quarterback is going to be in the early games with Breeze. Donald Brown, sort of a replacement running back that I like. A lot of the guys that I like are in these early games, so the swapping is sort of hard to do. So Niall down to Mike Crabtree would be the move that I would make on DraftKings probably.
How do you feel about Jordan Cameron at 4,200?
I actually just put him in a lineup instead of Larry Donnell because I can't roster Larry Donnell because his name is Larry Donnell. He sounds like an accountant. He sounds like an accountant.
He does, and the upside with Cameron far exceeds anyone else at that $4,200 price tag. I know Kelsey has the big upside as well, but Cameron's athleticism and Hoyer's been looking a little bit better on their center. The issue still is that shoulder. You never know if he's going to be, running. Obviously, it's not going to affect his speed, but sometimes those guys are just tentative with their shoulder injuries to get hit,
Yeah. want to read a stat here that JJ at Late Round QB just G-chatted me. Right now, Edelman has 9 straight games with at least 6 catches and 64 yards and 5 touchdowns over those last 9 games. So that is very good for a wide receiver on DraftKings, especially with the full point PPR. That does not suck. So
no, not
take
at
that
all.
for what it's worth.
And especially if Gronk's limited snap count's going to help anyone, it's definitely Edelman. Because
it's definitely Edelman.
when Gronkowski's out there, you know he's going to see targets. But if he's out there for 40 or 50% of the snaps, even more, Edelman's going to be a huge part of the game, even more than he already is. So I have no problem with that. And you talk about one team that's just. Did you see the odds on that Patriots game?
No,
ridiculous.
Stuff's been changing all morning, so
still ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
That could change 10 times in favor of Oakland and still be ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Like Oakland's just such a bad team, and like
Terrible.
So here's a guy that we should talk about. Stephen Ridley is 4,700 on DraftKings. Yes. Seen a couple of guys tweet this morning about him, saying that he's going to get around 40-50% of the snaps, and also Vereen kind of has this shoulder thing going right now. The problem is that I would rather use him on FanDuel with a half-point PPR because Ridley's not going to catch any passes. What do you think about Ridley this morning?
That's the thing. Bill Belichick is he's so inconsistent with that run game, and I know now I'm just bringing intangibles into the equation, but somebody like DeMarco Murray, if DeMarco Murray fumbles the ball, he's still going to see plenty of touches. If McCoy fumbles, he's still going to come back out there and get touches. If Stephen Ridley loses the ball, he's going to sit on the bench for the rest of the game. There's just a lot of risk tied into him, whether it be that or simply just not seeing the carries that we expect him to see. And that goes for all of New England's running backs, including Vereen, who saw 2 targets in week 2 and 8 in week 1. I love Vereen. He's a playmaker, and all it takes is one big play to justify that salary. But I like Ridley. He's not someone that I'd feel safe running out in all of my cash games, though, at all.
No, not even a little bit, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, you just can't do it. You can't do it.
There's 2 touchdown upside there. Undoubtedly, there's 2 touchdown upside in Ridley today, just because New England should score a lot. But like you said, he's ineffective in the pass game, and he's unpredictable on every other front. So $4,700 is a good price for someone when you're targeting some upside. But the dude's floor is so low, being that he's in the Patriots' run game. It's just really tough to trust him.
Yeah, for sure. I would rather play Alfred Blue for the minimum than I would Stephen Ridley for 40. They play the exact same role. They're doing the exact same thing. And Blue has a little bit of pass catching upside. He got hurt in college, so he was basically the third stringer last year for his team behind Jeremy Hill, who's with the Bengals now, and with one of their guys who is still there. But what he did do was catch passes, which is something that Ridley has never done.
Now, don't get it twisted, anyone watching this. Blue is by no means a safe play. But when you're talking a $1,700 difference on DraftKings where it's already tough to make a lineup, Blue becomes a lot more enticing of an option.
Yeah, he's super enticing, and it just. I'm gonna find myself using needing to use players in that range because of the way DraftKings is, especially in your Breeze lineups. Good luck finding guys that you want to play. Making a lineup with Drew Brees and Calvin Johnson is water torture today.
Right, and it effectively makes getting Jimmy Graham into a Drew Brees lineup impossible. Unless you're fading Calvin Johnson, it's really hard. Let's talk about Joyke Bell for a second, though. Bell,
I love him.
Me too, just because of the versatility, too. He's not, relegated to one specific duty in that offense. Against a Green Bay team that's going to score, you got to assume that he's going to see some production through the air as well.
Yeah, you have to. He had 11 pass targets last week.
I know.
Honestly, I think everyone who is using Golden Tate should probably change their lineups up a little bit and use Joik instead. Like, I would consider Joik ahead of him as a pass catcher. Like, he's got more targets this year, and you have the goal line touches that Joik is going to get.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really difficult not to like him in this. What do you think? You and I talked about this on the podcast. I think it's a really interesting play because we're talking about saving salary, right? So Alshon Jeffrey may be, considering his ceiling, may be the most underpriced player of the week if he plays, and he's at even 90% health at 6,400.
The problem is that we don't know.
I know, but
it's a Monday night game.
I understand that, and that's what makes it difficult, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But Davis mentioned it on the podcast. I fully agree. At 6,400, a guy that's had, two 200-yard games just last season, it's difficult not to want to gamble on him in tournaments.
Yeah. It is worth noting. Someone just tweeted this article I wrote about Alfred Blue out a while ago. I mean, we do need to know, like, people do need to know he's not very good. Like, it's a real problem. John Grimes is, like, way better than him. So I would expect them to split some carries, but for whatever reason, I mean, Matt Asiata sucks too, and the team used him last week, so it doesn't necessarily matter how good or how bad he is.
The best part about this, Davis, is that considering the quarterback situation in Houston, they're going to run the ball.
Oh, they have to.
Exactly. They don't have much of an option to... Arian Foster had like 27 carries last week, and Blue still had 11 carries. So it shows you right there that you take 27 carries. Was it 20? It was around that number.
It was 27 total touches.
No, Foster had 28 carries and 2 catches. He's had 55 carries and 4 catches over his first 2 games. So you consider you're losing. That's a precipitous drop-off right there, not only in production but in usage. So, like you said, you don't have to be good at $3,000 to justify that salary. You can easily
all you need there is 15 touches.
Yeah. If you give me 50 yards and a touchdown, I'll be singing your praises all night long.
All night long.
That's right, baby.
What everyone said last week, was to avoid Asiata, and then Asiata had the game that everyone expected him to have. And even if you take that touchdown away, he still had double-digit points on DraftKings.
Yeah.
So, I can't see a scenario where, the only way Blue completely ruins your lineup is if the expensive guy that you choose to pair him with sucks. Like, if your choice is, Demaryius Thomas or Joik Bell, and then you pivot to get Jordy Nelson and Alfred Blue in your lineup, and then Jordy has a bad game, that's really the only way he tilts your lineup.
And do you really expect the Texans to go behind early and often? Like, do you really expect them to get blown out in the first half of this game?
No,
I don't.
Their defense is better than the Giants. So even everyone's talking about how good the Giants' rush defense is, which it very well might be. A lot of the numbers right now are pretty noisy, but there's no way this game turns into a shootout. Like, neither quarterback has that ability.
The over/under on this game last time I saw it was like 40 or 41.
Yeah. And that you want a running back in that game.
Of course.
That sounds unintuitive to take a running back from a low over-under game, but when it's a min-priced guy like that, who all you just want is the touches, I definitely think that's a pretty good idea.
Are you looking for counterintuitive there?
What did I say?
Unintuitive?
Yes, yeah.
That works. We'll go with unintuitive. But no, the only other situation you'd really want is if Houston was going to go up really early, because then it's almost guaranteed that he's going to see those. But I'm with you. I completely agree. And Eli, you know what else is nice, Davis? Eli Manning might turn the ball over in his own, inside his own 30, which has happened all too often. So you could see Blue get set up nicely by doing nothing. So I don't have an issue with that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was just typing in the Skype chat. There are a lot of things going on. I got a question for you. So Kelvin Benjamin, I was expecting his Vegas prop lines to be a lot different.
What were they?
They were really low. They were it was 4 catches and 58 yards or something like that, which really surprised me because Jericho Cotry and Jason Avant are both questionable for this game coming up, and Benjamin is he just has like an insane market share for them. He's getting like 31% of their targets in the passing game. And Pittsburgh's defense is just terrible. They're just really bad. So it was really surprising to me to see those as Benjamin's Vegas props. What do you think about him today?
Well, I'll ask you this first. Do you think the fact that Cam Newton is at the helm might have something to do with it? I mean, I believe he had 2 receptions, but he had 8 targets last game. So it's not that he isn't getting looks, but do we trust Cam Newton to get him the ball?
Oh, I totally trust Cam.
You do?
I love Cam. Well, here's the thing.
See,
he kind of has a history with drops. Is the issue with Benjamin? But like, give me a guy who is getting 8 targets a game from a quarterback I think is pretty good. And also the thing with Cam right now is that his ankle is hurt. Still, sort of from that surgery.
He won't be running as much.
So he won't be running as much, which I think is a pretty big positive for Benjamin. And I mean, if even one of Avant or Cautry misses this game, I think it's sort of an impossibility that Benjamin doesn't get 10 targets in the passing
game. Right, and even if they're not inactive, neither of them are quality. Like, Jason Avant is a grinder type receiver that'll get you that tough 3rd or 4th down play, you know. But what else do you expect from someone like Jason Avant? I watched him play for years. He works hard, but he's not one of the most talented wide receivers by any stretch of the imagination. And I think the same kind of goes for Cautry. You have Benjamin's clearly the most talented receiver there, and Newton. Look, he's seen enough targets over the past 2 weeks that what is he 4,800 on DraftKings?
See, that's just such a good price for him.
Right, and that's
such
the thing.
A good price.
When you factor in the salary, it's tough not to like him. Like you said, when you're missing 2 of the starting receivers in that lineup, where else is he going to have to turn to? They might have a number of running backs, but none of those running backs are good anymore.
Yeah. We should talk about this. I think I've decided that I like Alfred Blue more than I like Kiri Robinson today.
See, I don't. That's where we differ. Well, let's talk about it.
Well,
you can give me your reasoning first.
I just think it's the game script is going to be so much better for Blue to get a bunch of touches than for Kiri to get a bunch. Here's the thing though. Kiri's definitely a way better bet to score a touchdown.
Right.
Than Blue is.
And that's my reasoning right there. It's just okay, so Breeze loves to throw the ball. There's no denying that. But with Ingram out, and he was being used a good amount in that offense, with him being out, and with Minnesota, I mean, I could almost guarantee that Minnesota's going down early in this one, right? So I really like Robinson. It's not that I don't like Blue, but we don't know what's going to happen in Houston.
Yeah, we don't know. That is a good point. Like we really don't have any idea. It's gonna surprise all of us.
And to be fair, I think we could say the same for New Orleans too. But my issue here is just that Robinson is on a better offense, and I think when I'm debating between who I'm going to go with, I'm looking at touchdowns, and I'm looking at who has a better opportunity to get them to the goal line, and that's Drew Brees and the Saints. And that's kind of the approach that I'm taking on this. I'm trying to see how many carries Ingram had inside the 10 over the past couple of days. I think that will tell us something. Now, do you expect Robinson to take over what Ingram was doing?
I think that Pierre Thomas is actually going to assume a larger role than a lot of people think. He's just been there for so long. He knows that offense so well. And I mean, honestly, after starting out 0-2, I expect Breeze to come out and just hang dong.
Oh, yeah.
I expect Breeze to come out. I would not be shocked if he threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns today at all.
Me neither. And in my opinion, he's the best home quarterback there is in the league right now. So, and home away splits I think mean more in football too. I really do. You look at what they've done at home. It's really hard. You look at what a lot of teams have done at home. It's hard to dispute that. I'm 100% with you on that one. There's no doubt in my mind that Breeze comes out firing. And Minnesota's secondary is so bad, but they're pretty bad everywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they are just atrocious at every single possible spot.
Right. And even if Robinson isn't, like, Robinson's the kind of guy that could have 2 touchdowns and 40 yards, really. So where are we expecting the production out of Alfred Blue is the question. And obviously, I don't see them down inside the 20 as much as I do the Saints.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. There's no way.
Right. Well, that's what's kind of making my decision.
Yeah.
Now here's a question, Davis. Mm-hmm. In GPPs, would you pair them both?
That is a good question. I don't know, man. Like GPP strategy today. Some weird
so
teams.
Different. So different.
Weird teams are gonna win some GPPs today. Like some just straight up weird teams. All right, one more real quick before we go.
Donald Brown.
Donald Brown is my guy today.
See, I don't like him. I'll let you go first. I'll tell you what.
That Matthews role averaged 19 touches a game last year, 13 a game this year. Keenan Allen's looking questionable to play.
Yeah, he wasn't on the field during warm-ups.
Wasn't on the field during warm-ups, and there's crazy bad weather there. So I think that just reads to me like a bunch of rush attempts.
I know. Last time I saw, there's a 70% chance of storms. So that I agree with you. My issue, however, is Donald Brown's not very good.
No, he's not.
Now, again, he's 3,500 on DraftKings. I'm assuming he's equally as inexpensive on FanDuel. But my fear is that he won't fill that Matthews role, despite Matthews not being there. That's my fear, is that he's not going to see the same role.
Does it change your mind at all knowing that Donald Brown is tied for the second best odds to score the first touchdown of the game ahead of Danny Woodhead?
Not really, because I don't really see any. Because who else on that team if Keenan Allen isn't there? There's Gates, but Eddie Royal, Malcolm Floyd,
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting that he was listed ahead of.
It is. Oh no, that's definitely interesting, and it's not. Danny Woodhead had 6 and 8 carries in his first 2 games, so 14 overall, and then Donald Brown had 9 overall. So that doesn't concern you. You're not afraid that that's gonna be a complete timeshare there. I understand that Donald Brown's an entirely different back.
I think it's definitely going to be a complete timeshare. I am not asserting that he's going to take over any significant amount of the work from Woodhead, but I think that just with the way this game script is going to go, I think that's enough for both of them.
If you remember the Andy Reid regime when Brian Westbrook was there, they used those short passes almost as an extension of the run game, right? Do you think that they'll use Danny Wood in that same area today? Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, I think that they probably do. I think that's
what concerns me.
Yeah. So it's not like crazy optimal. I don't know. I haven't decided how I feel about this whole thing yet. I got 30 minutes left how to feel, but we gotta go work on lineups now, everyone. I should be around on Twitter answering questions and stuff. I hope we helped. Yeah. It's a Sunday morning daily fantasy show. My one suggestion, I'm going to leave you guys with one thing. Do a GPP lineup where you leave Niall Davis in your flex slot.
And before you leave, Davis, you're going to rank Alfred Blue, Donald Brown, and Kyrie Robinson.
Brown, Blue, Robinson.
What? Okay.
Yep.
All right, good way to finish right there. I'm going Robinson, Blue, Brown. So I think we're actually completely ass backwards on that. It'll be fun to see how it turns out.
All right, cool.
All right, guys,
enjoy your week.
Thanks for everybody for joining in. I am tilting right now because I cannot create any lineups on FanDuel.
Well, why would you be able to?
Why? What's going on now?
I don't know. I keep on trying to create head-to-head contest, and there is no. Then I look in my upcoming, and there's no entries, and my funds are still where they were previously. And people are saying on Twitter,
I'm gonna get so much CSU RAM and Primetime 420. I have so many games posted.
Oh, and now all of a sudden the games are posted. They posted twice.
It's right around 12:30, so make sure you get them in.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later. Bye.